Hello and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. Jamie Lynch, Tyler Zulli, Renee Washington, and by God, it's John Foley's music. He's in town.
Friday with Foley.
The Phillies are back in town, so John Foley is here with us after a extremely wonderful road trip, John. Me and Renee and Tyler have talked about this at length. You've got the fresh haircut and beard trim, it looks like.
Hey, you know, I had to get fancy for the show.
Your thoughts on the road trip? It was just spectacular.
You can't do much better than that. They're taking care of the teams they need to take care of, and you know that Padres team isn't bad. You know, all the stuff we heard about. Oh, it's just the Rockies. Correct. It's it's just the White Sox. I don't think that applies to the Padres. And
no.
You know, the Angels aren't terrific, but you just they haven't lost a series since, you know, the first 1-2 of the season, I believe.
Exactly.
So, and the Braves series, as we all know, didn't count.
And of course that didn't count.
Yeah, that wasn't regular season ball.
Guys.
It was like the preseason warm-up exhibition.
But
so
that's the thing
good.
when you think about it. They had the first series against Cincinnati. They had the exhibition series against the Braves, as you want to call it, Jamie. Mm-hmm. And then since then, it's been split series in the 2-4 games, and they've won everything else. And to go on the road and prove that it was not a fluke what they did against the White Sox and Rockies, and show that not only were they winning games, but we saw them scoring a lot of runs. We saw, you know, the steadiness of the pitching staff, and just them finding ways to grind out wins. So it's definitely a happy Friday indeed. I see we've got in the chat our friends here with us. Chris Lemmer, of course, first in the chat. Steven Garrison, Darth Pooh, Spiral Out, Matt Deckard, K-Red, happy Friday. Yes, we definitely are going to talk about Taijuan Walker and the rotation. But yes, also, Jamie, you're a little lit right now. You came in.
Yeah.
A little bourbon left over from hanging with the guys.
Yeah, I have a morning bourbon. I mean, what's there to it? Yes, in honor of the Kentucky Derby tomorrow, me and the guys over on Anthony's show. Apparently, I was supposed to make mint juleps, which I didn't know about. So we just improvised and put bourbon on ice. It's a classic cocktail.
Can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
You put ice in it, that's classy.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's an ingredient. So a lot to get into today as the San Francisco Giants are coming into town for a 4-game series. But right before we started the show today, the NL Pitchers of the Month were just named. Woo. Jose Berrios gets the AL's Pitcher of the Month. And I think you guys might all be familiar here with the guy that won the National League Pitcher of the Month. Not Zach Wheeler, but our own dear Ranger. Awesome to see him get some national recognition like this.
Well deserved. Congratulations to Ranger. Saw the post going out shortly before he went live around his 32-inning scoreless streak that he had in the month of April, his 5-0 record, his .74 ERA, and his 5 starts in the month. Well deserved. And listen, as we mentioned and as we talked about, the Phillies have been in a really good situation that they have 3 of the top pitchers right now in the NL in Ranger, Zach, and Spencer, of course. So in cross ERA and statistically to have some of the top pitchers, and Ranger get to start off for April with the accolade, and hopefully they can continue this. I'd love for this to be something where like every month the Phillies are represented with a player of the month, whether it's pitcher or player or whatever it may be, that they're represented. So exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely is exciting. And one of the reasons it's so exciting is that it absolutely looks sustainable. There's no reason to think that Zach Wheeler can't keep doing what he's doing. He, pitched a great game the other day, even without his best stuff. Suarez, this isn't unprecedented for him to have these moments, these stretches of dominance. And, with this being the first year that he had a really full spring training, you have feel good about him. Nola is going to do what he does. He's in the mix right there. And
he's their worst pitcher, but he's still better than most.
Yeah. You put up numbers about the starting rotation, and then everyone points at Nola and it's like 3 ERA and says, he's destroying the numbers compared to, like 1.33 in these.
And we are going to get a lot into the rotation because there was an interesting nugget out there. We've heard it both locally from Corey Seidman, now nationally with John Heyman. We'll get into that momentarily. But just want to put a bow on the Major League Baseball Players of the Month. The Offensive Players of the Month, this guy named Mookie Betts. He's very good at baseball. I haven't checked his WAR recently, Tyler, but I would imagine it's north of 2 already. Because he was at 1.6 like 2 weeks ago. So I would imagine he's like in the 2-3 range, which is pretty wild considering it just turned May. And this guy, Gunnar Henderson, just south of us on 95 for the Baltimore Orioles. What's his WAR? Like a 3?
3.2.
3.2. My God. Mookie Betts is
He
insane.
leads the league in WAR and WAR. He's at 2.80 WAR.
Oh, my God.
Listen, Mookie Betts has 25
only
RBIs,
156
6
plate
home
appearances.
runs. Alec Bohm does have more. He's got 8 stolen bases, and his splits are 377, 481, 623. That's for the season. I don't have the April specifically because,
That
as
is
you know,
okay.
he is on my fantasy team.
What's the score?
I happen to have it up. I am losing by 20, but I'm gonna
You made it a game yesterday.
make the comeback. Making the comeback, and unlike the Sixers, I'm gonna keep that comeback and win.
Gunnar Henderson wins the AL Player of the Month. He's absolutely on fire right now. And then the pitchers of the month, as we said, Jose Barrios takes home the AL. Ranger does the NL. The rookies of the month, Shota Imanaga for the Chicago Cubs. A well-deserved honor there. And Colton Cowster for the Baltimore Orioles gets that. The Orioles are just, they have an embarrassment of riches with their farm system. And then the relievers of the month, Ryan Helsley from St. Louis. And, of course, one of the stories of baseball in the first month, Mason Miller from the Oakland Athletics takes home that. So there's your first, basically, month of Players of the Month awards in baseball. Good to see Ranger in the mix there. All right, let's get to the nugget last night. John Heyman.
And at some point, we'll hit on that topic that's going on in the chat right now that Don Gregg was asking
What was
about.
that?
He had a question. I know people are discussing now. He said, I hate to be that fan, but are they peaking too early? And I know various people are sharing their thoughts. Continue to share your thoughts.
That's such a great Philadelphia mindset. I love
it. It is, though, because let's be honest. Unfortunately, when you look over the history of Philly sports, and I know I was just laughing, joking with my dad about this the other day. He's like, ha, ha, ha. You're upset about, a couple of decades of this. I've been dealing with this for, 50 plus years. That's where we are. We're bitter. We're so used to waiting for the other shoe to fall off. Like, when are they going to turn back into a pumpkin? When are these exciting moments going to drop off? And we've seen that so many times. But right now, I honestly feel very optimistic about the Phillies because I think what helps is it's early in the season and nobody's being stretched too thin. And we haven't seen the best. Like, you look at Zach Wheeler, for example, who we've been talking about how well he's pitching. Okay, the last game in his 5 innings, Zach, 7 strikeouts, didn't have the greatest game, still got out of it. Even the game before that wasn't fantastic. Like, it's not like they're perfect. And we're seeing them play at this unattainable level that they can't continue. I think they still actually have room. Bryce Harper, another one. He's kind of been, up and down. You look at his start to the season, we still haven't seen Bryce Harper truly break out. He's got 18 RBI, 6 home runs on the season, and he still hasn't had that breakthrough moment outside of that three home run game. But nobody right now is consistently playing perfect. There's still a lot of room for growth, and there's still a lot of management that Rob is doing where he's not overextending anybody, such as what we're seeing down in like Atlanta with the Braves, for instance.
I think that's exactly right. I think they have not played their best baseball. I mean, Alec Bohm is playing out of his mind, of course. But one of the hallmarks of a truly great team that can go the length of a season, go head-to-head with the Braves, get around 95, 100 wins, is somebody different stepping up at all times. Right now, it's Alec Bohm. At some point, it's going to be Harper. He's just going to carry them for a while. Schwarber is going to go off probably in June. Who knows exactly when. You've got so many, even people probably don't want to hear it right now, but Nick Castellanos, there's going to be times during the season where he just starts clicking.
I have a Nick Castellanos home life update yesterday because 2 people, he had a great family day yesterday. So reset the battery, a little eat, pray, love. I follow a lot of the players' wives on Instagram.
Okay.
because
that's not creepy or anything.
I know how it sounds, guys. Hear me out. Hear me out. Jessica Castellanos is beautiful. That doesn't hurt. But you usually get more from the players' wives about the players than you do from the actual
You actually are following, though. You don't just go check in. You're like
No,
a full-on
You mean
follower.
following them on social media?
Yeah,
not
on
like
Instagram.
following them to their house.
No.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Good clarification.
Just clear.
Follow the players' wives can be very misleading.
So Liam is in town.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
good. He's resetting the batteries. He's getting back home. He's charging up. And then he had two really cool things yesterday. A buddy of mine, Matt Groark, who's a, I believe, Washington Township, Jersey teacher, is also a kind of internet celebrity barbecue chef. He went over to the Castellanos house yesterday to cook them. I believe they were venison and veal chops.
Stalker.
Yeah. And then a woman in town that does a homemade pasta class, homemade by Bruno, that Addie and I actually went to a couple weeks ago, was also at his house. So they had like a big throwdown. Liam's there, family's resetting, they're ready to go. Nick Castellanos is turning that corner, is the point I'm getting
welcome to PHLY Phillies E-News, because Jamie is giving us all. Look at you.
I saw it last night, and I was like, look at this. Liam's in town.
It's like the Wags and Jamie.
Yeah, Nick had a good
You're in
family
circle.
day, an off day, reset the batteries, recalibrate.
That's good insight, though.
He's going to turn the corner.
I'm
I
ready.
believe it.
I'm ready to log into gambling apps right now.
I like that because that's the stuff, as we talked about with Whit Merrifield, who everybody was at one point frustrated about his start to the season, and found out he had a baby girl, his first child born, Seager, in March, and hadn't been able to see her. You know, a lot of it sometimes has nothing to do with anything baseball related. Yeah, we can follow all the work and all the news and pressers and quotes, but at the end of the day, as you're mentioning, when you're doing your deep dive on Instagram,
Wade
you're
Wilson
getting insight.
said, do I have a bag for my binoculars? When I'm
Damn, we must be doing something right. Deadpool's here?
Yeah, Deadpool's
That's
in. Don
wild.
said this is way too much insider info. I'm just telling you, Nick
Such
Castellanos.
insider info, guys.
You heard it here first. Nick Castellanos is about to have a good series. All right, so let's get to the rotation.
I love it.
Because John Heyman last night, Corey Seidman, Spencer Turnbull was Tuesday, right, this week? I'm really bad at calendars, and it all mushes together.
It was the nice late 3-hour
Yes,
game.
so he pitched on Tuesday. I believe it was either late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. Corey Seidman put out a piece with NBC Sports Philly and basically said, the decision hasn't really been made yet on Spencer Turnbull. All options are being weighed, whether that's piggybacking with Taijuan Walker starts, whether it's handcuffing him to Christopher Sanchez or Taijuan Walker starts as like a middle relief guy, straight up remaining in the rotation, going to the bullpen. Everything was on the table. And then last night, John Heyman, national reporter from the New York Post and MLB Sirius and all that, said the Phillies are considering keeping Spencer Turnbull in the rotation. We all know that Spencer Turnbull doesn't probably have 180 to 200 innings in him.
Right.
Maybe he does, but I think he's earned the chance to keep going here. I think it's the fourth best ERA in Major League Baseball. Kind of impossible to send that guy to the pen. So I get why the Phillies are weighing everything. I don't know what the answer is going to be here. I'm very fascinated to find out. But Spencer Turnbull kind of forced their hand here in making a really hard decision. So kudos to Spencer Turnbull for already earning that $2 million.
Yeah, I mean, what a bargain. He's been incredible. And it's a fascinating question because there's so many different directions you can go. You know, it's tough for us to speculate because you know that the Phillies as an organization probably do have an innings max in mind.
Sure.
For Spencer Turnbull. They're not going to share it with us. But they know, you know, they've crunched numbers and done the analytics.
Sure.
And they have something in mind for Spencer Turnbull. And then if you have that number, you can work backwards and then figure, do you ride the hot hand right now, get everything you can out of him, and then say thank you for your service?
When you see something, maybe Taijuan just swaps
or maybe swaps
something.
in. I would say reading between the lines and just at what Thompson's responses seem to have been most excited about is maybe this piggybacking idea.
Yeah.
The idea that you would pair Turnbull with either Sanchez or Walker, and, you know, they'd both be expected to go about 4 or 5 innings.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, you're going to get pulled after 4 or 5, no matter how well you're doing.
Sure.
Just keep both of them sharp.
That's mentally something.
Mentally, it's something.
Right.
Yeah.
But regardless, mentally, there's going to have to be something. There's no clean way of cutting this, because when you have in Spencer Turnbull's 1.67 ERA that he started out the season with, in his 6 starts, he's been phenomenal. And Spencer Turnbull has made it really difficult.
Yeah.
It seems like a very easy situation of this is temporary. When Taijuan Walker comes back, Spencer Turnbull will slide out of the rotation. Taijuan will get back into the 5 spot. But now I love the fact that Spencer Turnbull even has us having this conversation, because unlike a situation like Chris Sale or, other guys that are coming back, even Jordan Hicks, who we'll get into, this is a great situation that you have a guy that hasn't pitched more than 56 2/3 innings since 2019. That's at his best right now that we've seen in a very long time, but you don't need him. This is, you're talking about who's going to be fourth, fit, take that 5th spot in the rotation. This is not your top pitcher. This is not even your second best. You have a pitcher that is literally top across the league in ERA right now that you're considering sending to the bullpen.
That's
and
incredible.
I honestly always feel like ride the hot hand. Like, I wish the Sixers had did that yesterday. When you have someone
How does
scoring,
Buddy Hield not play in the third
when
quarter?
you have somebody
Speaking of the
scoring,
hot
when you
hand.
have somebody getting strikeouts, when you have somebody that's playing so well, you got to stick with that. It shouldn't be on you as the manager to ice them out. Don't you be the reason that Spencer Turnbull's tremendous start drops off. Keep him going. And then if it does get to a point where you start to see his numbers wavering a bit and he's not pitching as well, okay, that to me is a simple move. You've got options there. But I think piggybacking, and I know we talked about this on Wednesday, piggybacking makes the most sense. 6-man rotation with the May schedule. There's a lot of days they have like 5 games and then it'll be like a break. It would just mess up the entire rotation, in my opinion. But a piggybacking situation of putting the pressure on Taijuan and Spencer. Listen, guys, you're going to be splitting each game. You're going to have 4 or 5 innings each, depending on how the game's flowing. Puts the pressure on them of like owning up to who's going to win out this spot.
Yeah. The one thing you can't do, which we didn't mention yesterday, but there was a quote, and I saw it, maybe it was Jason in the chat talking about this. You can't go to a true 6-man rotation because Zach Wheeler was not happy. He said it very politely and very professionally.
But he was clear.
He basically blamed like his struggles and his laboring out in Anaheim on the fact that he got an extra day's rest.
Yep.
So you can't do that. That one's out.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation in the chat here about why not just go 6-man. It makes a lot of sense on the surface, but like you said, Jamie, your ace, Zach Wheeler, he doesn't like it.
He
so
gets
you
what
know
he
what?
wants.
You cannot,
Takes it off the
at
table.
the expense of Zach, go with a 6-man rotation. If you have to choose, I think we'd rather have a better Zach Wheeler. And I'm sure Aaron and Ranger, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the same mindset, because they are more tenured starting pitchers. They know what works best for their routine. They're not fighting for a spot. They're locked into 1, 2, 3. So for them, it's like, wait a minute, don't go mess it up what I've got going on here just because we're trying to accommodate having Taijuan and Spencer. You figure that out with having them piggyback. So honestly, after the way that Zach struggled on the road trip with that, the change in the rotation, that in itself was the sample size I feel like we needed to show. Nope, 6-man rotation's not the option. It's not going to help the entire pitching staff.
Yeah, and actually, I was curious, so I went back and looked at a larger sample size, and it seems like Zach Wheeler actually does, when you give him that extra day of rest, for whatever reason. He has stellar,
Still good.
Yeah.
struggled for Zach Wheeler.
Yes.
Still good. Doesn't seem to pitch as well, so that's a huge consideration. And then even if Nola, Suarez, even if Wheeler were 100% okay with it, if you go full 6-man, you get a lot fewer Wheeler starts, a lot fewer Suarez starts, a lot fewer Nola starts. Right now, Turnbull's been amazing over the course of the season. I still think those 3 pitchers are probably going to be your guys. I don't think Spencer Turnbull is going to end up as your ace.
Right.
Do you want your big 3 losing losing starts out there?
That's a good
No,
point, actually.
it's like, Bryce Hart, do you want your best hitters hitting as often as possible.
Right.
You want your best
You'd
pitchers
rather
pitching.
have more of Zach, Aaron, and Ranger versus more of Christopher, Taijuan, and Spencer. And again, it's like, don't cheat yourself and ice your team out. And now you're taking away the Phillies, who right now have easily across a number of stats, the best pitching staff across the league. And you're going to be the reason why maybe things get shaken up. So it is, I think it's, as we've talked about, great problems to have. And you're excited because this is a chance. It's like that moment of perspective of realizing the issues that we're talking about right now is who's going to take that fifth spot. Is it going to be a piggybacking situation versus sending Spencer down to the bullpen right now? Lots of great options there. And you know who else gives you guys great options that can help keep you healthy? That's our friends over at Olipop. Olipop is the place to go. They are the world's first soda that gives you the digestive health that you need, because there are, out of every 3 Americans, 2 of them that are dealing with digestive health issues. 95% people are not getting the recommended amount of fiber that their body needs. And over at Olipop today, you can change that. They're tackling all of those situations for you by providing you with great options: 9 grams of fiber per can, 2 to 5 grams of sugar per can. And with Olipop, you also get the ease and convenience of being able to find them on 30,000 different retailers across the country's shelves. That's fantastic. It makes it a lot better for you to be able to go out to your local Wawa, out to Wegmans, Sprouts, GoPuff, to be able to find Olipop. And you can also shop for Olipop online on Amazon or on drinkolipop.com, where you can find the Olipop options. And what makes it even better is when you utilize our code that we have for you in PHLY20, you'll be able to get 20% off of your next Olipop order. That discount does only apply to one-time orders, not subscription orders. So again, you can find Olipop 30,000 different stores nationwide, and make sure that you are able to tap into the first functional soda with that classic soda taste of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, other botanical ingredients that support your gut health, and flavorful Olipop. We've got it right here in the studio. I know you guys were drinking some Olipop earlier. Tyler's drinking some Olipop Classic Grape. We've got the Dr. Goodwin, the cream soda, the cherry cola, the ginger ale, the orange squeeze. They're great as mixers. They're great by themselves. They're great with some ice cream for a root beer float. Olipop, check them out today. And again, use that code PHLY20 to get 20% off of your next order at Olipop.
So good.
As Renee was doing her read there, I was putting my iced mug on my eyeball because my allergies are killing me. I've been rubbing my eyes all day. And what that means is I got to get my butt over to Rite Aid after the show because it's seasonal allergy time. My car is covered in pollen, and I just watched it 2 days ago. And Rite Aid is great because if you go onto their website, you can sign up for the pollen count. And if you suffer really badly, I'm fortunate that it's just mildly annoying. It doesn't completely ruin my day. But if you suffer from real bad allergies, you might want to check that pollen count out and try and stay indoors a little bit on those days. But Rite Aid has you covered, from Rite Aid brand allergy fighting stuff to national brand name stuff. Rite Aid has a little bit of everything you need. If you need vaccinations, RSV, shingles, or other, Rite Aid's got you covered. So if you're suffering from itchy, red, and swollen and watery eyes like I am, maybe you're having a sneezing fit, nasal congestion, God forbid brain fog, headaches, any of that stuff, coughs, they have over-the-counter options. The pharmacist would be more than happy to talk to you about what you're going through and to try stuff. And if you still don't have enough relief, Rite Aid pharmacist they have different types of allergy medication, like decongestants. They might, give that to you and say, give this a whirl. This has had success for other people. You can always ask your pharmacist for recommendations on ways to get relief. So visit your local Rite Aid today, stock up on allergy relief, or catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles, and more. Walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. And Rite Aid's got everything, whether you need a birthday card, a bag for a party. I got to go out to a party tomorrow morning. I'll probably stop by Rite Aid, grab some tissue paper and a bag, and throw a gift in there. And we're off. So
it is funny that no matter how much a birthday's coming up or a party's coming up, we are always all at Rite Aid or at the last minute in the car, putting the stuff in the bag, signing the card on the steering wheel.
You got to buy the pen at Rite Aid.
I'm like, every single time. It's so annoying.
Matt Deckard, this is not a Bethpage hat. This is a 2024 Pinehurst U.S. Open hat. Instagram ad got me.
Rocking the good hats today.
And John, I know you're on the campaign to bring the Athletics back to Philadelphia here. We just need to get Rob McElhenney on your side. Yeah. And it's a sharp hat.
I've got my people talking to Rob's people. We'll see where that goes. I would say we are as far along in the process as John Fisher seems to be in terms of doing something good. And we'll see where it goes. And in the meantime, I I picked up a hat just because I love the colors. And come on, nobody's going to be worried about the A's, although they are playing pretty well.
I was going to say, the A's actually are on a winning streak. They beat the Rangers, the Orioles, and who they just beat? The Pirates. Those series. So
I'm seeing all the major league analogies.
We've seen this movie before.
Yeah, exactly.
Mason Miller currently has a negative FIP, which basically means that based on the computer-generated numbers, when he pitches, the other team owes him runs. I don't know how that happens.
I know in the chat people were asking
they basically owe him runs.
And actually, as it's ironic as you bring him up though, Tyler, because I know in the chat people were asking about the Phillies should go after a guy like him. Like who should they look to? I forget who was asking. I want to say it was
Steve Garrison.
Steven was saying, there it is. If
all we needed was trade for Mason Miller.
Great question though, Steven.
Do it before Alex Anthopoulos
does. If all we needed was a bullpen arm to be the final piece of the deadline, would you trade for Mason Miller from the A's?
Hell yeah.
They would definitely probably ask the moon for him, but Mason Miller, a negative FIP, you're saying?
I mean, they gave
a couple days ago, it was a negative 0.5
They gave away Matt Olson
FIP.
for Christian Pache. Let's not give them too much credit.
I think you could probably weasel something out of them. I think. Listen, shoot your shot. Shoot your shot.
The Phillies are going to add a bullpen arm by the trade deadline.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I don't really see any.
There's no glaring.
I don't know what else they would do.
Let's just do something big and shocking.
Oh
yeah, like if Mike Trout, if the Angels said, "Hey, we'll eat 180 of the remaining 240 million, and just give us Justin Crawford and Sam Aldegari." Okay,
right. But if you're tinkering around the edges, where do you really look other than the bullpen?
That's the only spot.
I mean,
I think that's where you go.
Kind of cemented himself. He was a preseason question mark.
Yep.
Castellanos, it can't get any worse, right?
Knock on wood.
I mean,
can't be. Brandon Marsh has excelled. Alec Boehm is the hottest hitter in baseball. And then Bryson Stott and Bryce Harper are going to come around.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no
And you've
holes.
got the backup pieces of, Christian Pache and Whit Merrifield, and you know what they're going to give.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a lefty bat on the bench.
Being able to bring up a Cody Clemens if needed. But I don't see anything that's glaring that needs to be replaced except adding more bullpen arms, especially since we've seen just as recently as Wednesday of, Jeff Hoffman isn't available to go because he needed a day off. And now you're like, who's going to be closing out the game? And it was Gregory Soto. Soto and his ups and downs and then just the overall struggles of Sir Anthony Dominguez, I think you need to absolutely add another bullpen arm.
Yeah. So Steve Garrison, go get Mason
Steve.
Miller. Sure.
Help us. Make the deal happen, Steven Garrison. We believe in you.
Yeah.
Jamie, I don't know if you just had that, but after they said make the deal happen, all I had was flashbacks of do the deal
for Marcus Mariota.
do the deal.
That's great.
Hey, the Eagles eventually got Mariota anyway,
Yeah, I mean, we got him eventually.
Not the Marcus Mariota that we had wanted, but yes, we got a Marcus Mariota.
So we'll see what happens here going forward with Spencer Turnbull, but John Heyman heard that they are going to keep him in the rotation. What that's going to look like, TBD, but I am quasi-fascinated. You'll be around Rob this weekend. I'm sure he'll be getting hit with a lot of those questions.
Yeah,
what's this going to look like? How are you going to do it? Blah, blah, blah.
Right. I do think they're looking to maybe make an announcement today about how it's going to line up, just because you're running out of time in terms of, the players involved probably already know.
Yeah, probably.
And he was hinting and tinkering around like this weekend being the weekend, because as we're now into May, obviously wanting to have the plan in place. So yeah, John, I'm excited for you to be able to keep us posted with whatever updates you're getting from Rob.
Yeah, go and get there early this afternoon. Rob usually has an availability in the dugout pregame, and we'll see if there's any news that breaks. At that time.
So the Giants are in town. I always think of Pat Burrell now when I think of the Giants.
I know.
Oddly enough.
Well, Pat the Bat is in town.
Yeah. So the 4-game series is shaking out like this. Tonight's a pretty good one. Jordan Hicks is on fire. He's 2-0 so far for the Giants in his new starting role with a 1.59 ERA and 27 strikeouts. It's a shame because the Phillies wanted him.
They wanted, but
they couldn't offer him a starting job.
They couldn't offer him a starting job, and now we see why. We'd have 7 starters that would be trying to cram in the rotation. So
and he's facing off against Aaron Nola with 36 strikeouts, 3.2 ERA, who's 4-1 on the year. Maybe this is the year Aaron Nola finally gets to 20 wins. Who knows?
Yeah.
But this should be a great pitching duel tonight.
It will be, and you've got Jordan Hicks is coming back. He actually was day to day with an injury. I'm glad he's back for the sake of my fantasy team. Not glad
Everybody
he's back
was really worried in the chat.
I know, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah,
He got me a lot of fantasy points. I'm sorry, but he was day to day dealing with an injury, and as we know, and as you touched on, Jamie, being moved into the starting rotation, for him to have such an electric start and averaging 87 pitches per start. His walk rate is a career low at 7.7%. And he has, as you talked about, that incredible ERA of a 1.59. And over his last 2 starts, he had gone 11 innings total and given up only 2 earned runs. He has been really good. It's just, I think today's a good day for the Phillies to be able to hopefully pounce on him. I know I feel like I say that every game and they don't do it, but Jordan Hicks coming back off of an injury, why not take advantage of him, get after him early? He has, as I said, with about 87 pitchers per start, hasn't had to go deep into the pitch count. So maybe today's a day that the Phillies, who have consistently been, attacking pitchers early, can do that and get Jordan Hicks rattled a bit and get him shaken off of this pedestal. Now, I don't want that to happen selfishly because of my fantasy team, but I'd be happy with it either way. It's a win-win for me.
Maybe you sit him today because the Phillies have made a pretty good habit of jumping on pitchers early.
I think hard too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Guys that throw hard, that doesn't scare them. And I think it's 2/3 of their games they've scored first now.
All 10 of their road games, the Phillies scored first.
All 10 of the road games.
Yeah, so they're on even a streak of scoring first and jumping out to a quick start.
Right. So maybe sit Hicks today. He's been doing great and great for him. And, betting on himself and saying, I'm really going to hold out for this starter contract. I mean, I would love to have that arm in the Phillies bullpen right now. Can you even imagine? But
that would be pretty. That would be an embarrassment of riches.
It's quite a quick switch from a major switch, I should say, from his time with the Cardinals when he was a starter back in 2022 with a 5.47 ERA across 8 starts. That now he's really been able to, new team, new environment, and he's flourishing so far. So that injury was really the only thing that slowed him down. Mm-hmm. But today can absolutely be that day with the way the Phillies have been jumping out on pitchers from the gate.
So make sure everybody gets in touch with their parents and older friends, family, and relatives tonight. Everybody in the chat, prepare yourselves. It is an Apple TV game. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Apple TV because they have some good programs.
Of the Apple TV.
Are you
also the Facebook guy?
Yeah. So I already have it, but I understand what a pain in the ass that is for people. I'm a big fan of the Apple TV broadcast. For some reason, the cameras are just so much crisper. I love the new technology they put on it, like hit probability, K probability.
Yeah.
Launch
Though I don't fully understand how they're calculating it.
I don't either, but just go with it.
It sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. I'm sure somebody's smarter than me.
And I can't prove you wrong.
Yeah,
so I'll go with
that sounds
that.
good.
But yeah, very crisp program, really nice angles. A lot of people cannot find it to save their lives.
Yeah, I am 100% going to get a call from my father-in-law later tonight.
The weird thing is there's so many different levels of Apple TV. Like, you have to have the MLS season pass or you have to have specific things that you're adding onto it that does make it a little bit more complicated. But when you watch it, it should be a good one. If you can find the game, it should be a good one.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to have some cold Miller Lights, which I'll tell you about in 1 second. But Tyler, you bring up a really good point here about Jordan Hicks tonight.
I know we were pseudo joking about the Castellanos thing with the mental reset, the headspace.
Oh yeah,
we're not messing with it today. You 3 are on the screen. I'm going to be the ghost voice today. In his 6 starts, he's gotten almost 20 innings worth of outs against right-handed hitters. He struck out 16. He's walked only 2. He's given up just 9 hits. He's got a .56 WHIP against right-handed hitters, but it doesn't stop there. His whiff percentage down and away to right-handed hitters in the lower quadrant of the strike zone and just outside of the box is 50%.
Okay, Nick's Good Series is going to start tomorrow.
I know that we were, half-heartedly joking about Nick Castellanos maybe having a good day today. I would bet you that Nick Castellanos struggles pretty heavily today. His BABIP on those 2 quadrants is 0 and 0.
Wow.
His expected on base percentage is 0.68 and 151. Jordan Hicks has been really, really, really good against right-handed hitters down and away in the zone.
Good. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster for Nick Castellanos. Well, his hot streak starts tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to start that tomorrow.
It is going to be a good matchup because the Giants coming into today, their offense is averaging 3.81 runs, and their pitching is giving up 4.61 runs per game. The Phillies, as we know, have been on a tear offensively after having the slow start where they were, unable to score more than 5 runs in all games except one in the first 16 outings. That now they are averaging, I think it was 8 runs per game is what the numbers, 8.53 hits per game, about 8 runs per game that they're now averaging. So it's definitely switched that we've seen in the last outings. They've been averaging 8 runs, but overall for the season, they are now averaging 3.8 runs per game. But overall, the Phillies offensively have been clicking, and those numbers are a little bit concerning, Tyler. You did just have people, I feel like, the optimism go down a bit.
Said, poor Nick.
You definitely did send the optimism down a little bit.
Randy said you're the master Cheerio.
Listen, I'm not sitting here telling you that they don't have no chance to win this game. I'm saying if you're picking one player to potentially have a poor game, the stats tell you it's Nick Castellanos.
Did he strike out 4 times his last game?
That's great.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, his last game.
I mean, everybody struck out. They struck out 18 times.
I'm pretty sure he struck out 4 times.
18 there were a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he struck out 4 times. That's not great. There was a comment I want to get to in 1 second. But tonight, it's Friday night. We're not going to be here at the studio. And even if I was here at the studio, I'd probably have a cold, delicious Miller Lite in my hand because it's the original light beer since 1975. And when I close my eyes and think of what a beer should taste like, pretty much what comes to mind is Miller Lite. Because you know what you're getting every single time. It's less filling, tastes like a beer, it's refreshing, it's only 96 calories. It's just kind of healthier for you than most craft beers out there, and you can drink a bunch of them and not feel bloated, which is just great. And a lot has changed since 1975, but the delicious taste of Miller Lite has not. Miller Lite is simple. They keep and hold on to what matters most, which is refreshing, delicious tasting beer, and get rid of everything that doesn't matter. It's the original light beer that tastes like a beer should taste. Less filling and only 96 calories. The original since 1975, and you can get it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. And you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered directly to your door, go to MillerLite.com/PHLY Phils, or you just find it anywhere that basically sells beer. It's everywhere, people. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than a premium regular beer.
Yeah, and as we're getting closer to game time, let me tell you about the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. Game Time, the Game Time app you can download today and be able to take advantage of their lowest price guarantee. They also provide you with the options that you can get those last-minute tickets, and you can now see tickets for, or always, concerts, comedy shows, games, plenty of Major League Baseball games that you can check out and look to attend through the Game Time app. You download the app, you're able to find those last-minute tickets, those flash deals that they have, and you are able to see where your seats are going to be located. So you get a view from all the seats in the venue. So now when you pick that seat that you want to sit in, you now have an idea of what the view is going to be of the field, of the stage, of the court, depending on what your tickets are for. And also they have some event cancellation protection. They've got other protections in place just to make sure you're getting a great deal, but also feeling confident and excited to go and have a fun time. They take the stress out of buying tickets. We can't guarantee that game won't be stressful, but we can promise buying tickets can be. So you can take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and use that code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets and lowest price guaranteed.
Before we get to the rest of the weekends, I think it's Dave Leopold had a comment in the chat. I wanted to just run by everyone. He said we need a true closer. Most World Series champs have one. Most great teams have that true defined closer. Now, I might be in the minority here, but I think they have one. I just don't think they've named him yet, and they're not going to give him every opportunity early in the season. I think Rob Thomson does believe in the high leverage situation. So if in the 8th inning a lefty-heavy lineup is coming up. He's going to use Jose Alvarado there. But I do believe for the most part they have a closer. They just haven't said it yet.
I think that's right. I mean, you did see, Soto close it out the other day because Alvarado faced the tougher part
And
of the
Hoffman
lineup.
pitched 3 or 4 days.
And I think maybe even 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Hoffman had been heavily used.
Yeah.
So you had Soto coming on, which didn't feel fantastic given his recent struggles. So you do think Alvarado is probably the guy. Now, they used to have that Alvarado-Seranthony combo, lefty-righty combo. Now you've probably got the Alvarado-Hoffman combo. That's fantastic. But I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that, again, we talked about it earlier, if you take a look at the trade deadline and the Phillies are all performing the way they're performing sort of right now, and you want to add to the bullpen, I mean, we had talked about over the offseason some. If you get a truly shutdown closer for the 9th, and now you're mixing and matching Alvarado and Hoffman and the rest of the gang in like the 8th, that would be absolutely filthy. Now,
I feel like that is an area that should be locked down, in my opinion, for who's going to be a closer, because you do have Jeff Hoffman, Jose Alvarado, and Orion Kerkering. I know Steven in the chat's bringing up Kerkering. Between the 3 of them, I would imagine that Rob feels comfortable with any one of them coming in as closer. I just feel like, in my opinion, what it seems like lately is the bullpen rotation's been a little bit off. And we've seen, like last game, for instance, because Jeff Hoffman couldn't go, and you had Orion, Strom, everybody pitched Jose, they pitched 1 inning, and then you're kind of left going into the bottom of the 9th wondering who's going to come out and close out the game. So I think the issue is less about who is the closer and more about can we get to a point where you're not using maybe Orion so early. Maybe it is Strom that comes in or Gregory Soto. Maybe not Sir Anthony for a little while. But I think it's just been a misuse of the bullpen, not an issue of not having a closer, because Jeff Hoffman has talked extensively about how he, this offseason especially, took time to lock into the mindset of being able to carry over the performance last year into this year, be able to deliver, be able to be the guy that Phillies can count on, be steady, and just be in the moment. And that's, to me, the mental side of how he can help as a closer. Jose's been that. And Orion just been young, but Orion already in his start to the season has been fantastic in 2024 since coming back off the IL. I mean, you look at the fact that he's been able to get out there, have a .75 whip. He's throwing gas. His pitches look fantastic. He's always got one of the highest velocities in the game. I think those are your 3 guys. It's just you have to better manage how you're rotating them against specific batters, when you're using them, how you're using them, so you're not putting them out there too early and then in the 9th inning going to a Gregory Soto.
I think that's a really excellent point. I do want to add, though, that I don't know if that mismanagement is on Thomson. I
don't know who's doing
it's
that.
Just sort of, well, to me, it's a little bit about circumstances. Like they have the string of games where they don't need any relievers pitching. And then all of a sudden folks seem a little rusty, and then they need work. And then they get their work, and then we got Hoffman in a game because he hasn't pitched in 5 days.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you need him 4 days out of 5. And part of it's just the way it falls like that. And that's why, to me, it seems like it never hurts to have one more guy. But maybe I'm just greedy.
No, you'll see it at the trade deadline. Every playoff team is going to attempt to add a bullpen arm, regardless of how their situation is.
Yeah.
They could be the best bullpen in the league. You're usually looking to add somebody because, the reality is bullpens are, a major factor, like a major factor in winning World Series. We saw it here in 2008 firsthand. If it's not for Scott Air and some of these guys and J.C. Romero and like the lower level guys, Ryan Madsen was spectacular. Lynch was spectacular. But if you didn't have some of those other guys, and Chad Durbin was phenomenal that year. So can you count on Sir Anthony right now? No. Can you count on Orion, Hoffman, and Alvarado? Yes. Some of the other guys have shown promise.
You trust those 3. You trust Strom.
Yeah, Strom's been very good.
And you should.
Don't give him inherited runners. Just give him clean innings.
Yeah.
He stinks with inherited runners.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's been great.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it really should be, you look at the names and you look at the track record of these pitchers, and it really seems like they should be at a point where you can use guys like Sir Anthony if he's pitching the way he could, the way he could. that's a fantastic guy to be able to bring into the 5th or 6th inning.
Junior Marte's
That's the
been
thing.
okay
I was going
too.
to say
Junior
Junior
Marte,
Marte was
yeah,
the name I was
we
going to
shouldn't
bring
forget
up.
about him. And Soto closed out a game the other day. This is a guy with a ton of closing experience, former All-Star closer with the Tigers. They're pretty good, but
But they'll probably still add someone.
I just think that it needs to be more defined of who's your typical middle relievers. Is it a Junior Marte, Strom? And then who's going to be the guys that you're putting in later down the stretch? Because I do feel like we've just seen too many times pulling somebody off the mound too soon. Again, like Orion's a great example. Like he probably could have given you a little bit more than an inning. Stretch him maybe an inning and 2/3. Maybe you're now working him in that next inning, and then you bring in Strom. I just feel like it's been too quick or short of a leash with some of them, and now you're forced to have to go to Sir Anthony, Gregory Soto in high leverage situations. And I'd love to see the management of it be better. Definitely still add a bullpen arm, but the talent is there. I think it was exactly as you touched on, John. You went from Ranger throwing a complete game, Aaron, Ranger, Zach going 7-8 innings. Obviously, Ranger with a complete game going the full distance. And the bullpen was not getting worked. And then and then as a result, they just were kind of throwing them out there sporadically just to get them some innings, just to keep them fresh. And then you mismanage them. You had Jeff Hoffman in a situation specifically where you couldn't even utilize him in the last game. And then overall, you're now scrambling of who do I go to? So hopefully with solidifying whatever the starting pitching is going to look like, if it's going to be a piggyback situation, whatever that's going to look like, hopefully that will also solidify what the bullpen's going to look like. Because right now it just kind of feels like helter-skelter. You don't really know who's next. Even we were like, who are they going to now?
Exactly.
Who's coming out of the bullpen next? You have no idea.
It's like, are you drawing names out of a hat?
Right.
There is something to be said for, and I know there's sort of an old school, new school divide on this, but to me, there's still something to be said for defined roles.
Sure. Yeah, and I think they're missing that.
This guy's coming out in the ninth.
That's what Jason's saying right there in the chat with you. He said, I think a guy like Sir Anthony needs a defined role, meaning if you're the closer or the setup, I don't want him in either of those roles, but he can be the 7th inning guy potentially if he figures it out. So he knows how to get prepared for his time on the mound instead of just leverage spots. There is something to be said for that. John, we're of the age that kind of straddles that line of old school, new school, like right on the cusp.
Right.
I think there is something to say for that. Friend of mine, Ricky Batalico, always says that. Ricky's probably a little more old school baseball thinking than new school, but he's a guy that's done it.
He's a guy that's done it. He's a guy that knows, and he knows like there's something different about the 9th inning.
Yeah,
right?
he said, I knew I was going in the 9th inning, and I could prepare myself all game long to get in the right headspace and go out there and do it. So I can't discredit it as the new school is right.
Right, but
most athletes are like that. Most athletes want to know, how am I making an impact on the team? When am I being called upon? I know Ray's bringing up the same thing, talking about on the offensive side, like someone like Whit Merrifield, for instance. I know we all have talked on this show about wanting to see Rob tinkering a little bit more, trying out some versatility, mixing and matching some combinations. But I do think there's got to be that fine balance. It is still May, early May. So this will hopefully happen as the season's progressing. But continue to, and I'm assuming I know he's having these conversations, but continue like also moving into having some sort of a role that we know, but most importantly, the guys know of when am I going to be utilized? I mean, Whit has been moved position to position. We saw Alec get moved to first. On the pitching side, in terms of the bullpen, we've seen all different types of, rotations coming out of the bullpen. Give them an idea. Okay, Junior Marte, you're probably going to be that middle reliever guy. Sir Anthony, maybe you're around that 6th, 7th inning that we're going to typically tend to be going to you, just to give them a frame of reference so that they can prepare and so that they also have the confidence that they can lock in on, this is my time to shine. Right. This is when I'm going to be called upon and I'm going to be ready. But it does feel like they're just all out there waiting for the bullpen specifically of like, who's next? And you're just pulling a straw out of a hat to see who's going to be stepping into the game.
Exactly.
And you already have so much talent. You've got a wide range of age, talent, pitching ability. Utilize that, mix and match, and come up with some sort of a bullpen role and rotation that can now solidify, because we have seen the Phillies lose games behind the bullpen, obviously.
Yeah, there's the bullpen, and Renee, you mentioned the position players and their defined roles, and one name that popped in my head right away was Bryson Stott. Is this not your everyday second baseman? I mean, we continue to say he is, but then there'll be lefties in the lineup, and all of a sudden he's sitting down for Witt or Sosa or whoever.
We talked about this briefly yesterday. So my point was I'm okay with it in the first half of the season because you're going to be giving him scheduled time off anyway. In the second half of the season, you can't sit him in a playoff series. Yeah. He's got to face some lefties in the second half.
Yeah, you got to let him face lefties now, him and Marsh. The interesting thing, so Marsh, I sort of get it. We all love him. He's one of the most popular players on the team, but he does have some really significant righty-lefty splits in his career. Stott's a little bit of a different case in that his splits are, they might be reverse, Tyler. If not reverse, they're pretty close, and it's not a Marsh situation.
You
so
just
I don't know.
Tyler an excuse to go on the MLB Savant. He's all over it.
he'll be gone for a while now.
We lost him for the rest of the show.
But I don't know. I mean, there's also the possibility that Stott was just getting some rest because he didn't get off to a hot start.
Yeah, so this season, okay, Tyler, I'm gonna let you go though, because I know this is you got it too, but I pulled up the splits because he has been much better.
Bryson Stott has obviously had significantly more at bats against righties than he has lefties. He's had 269 at bats in his career against left-handed pitching. He's had 832 at bats against right-handed pitching.
That's a quarter of the size.
He is hitting 254 in his career against righties. He's hitting 271 against lefties. He's driven in 90 against righties. He's driven in 35 against lefties. He struck out 146 times and 832 at bats against righties, 60 times and 269 at bats against lefties. He has about a third of the amount of hits against lefties that he does against righties, but it's also a little bit less than a third, about a third of the amount of at bats.
What about his OPS, lefty righty? How's that?
So this season has been the same though. To start off, he's had 68 at bats against righties and 21 at bats against lefties. So it still is about a third, and his OPS versus lefties is a 6.23 and a 6.97 versus righties. But I struggle to wonder, like, the numbers obviously make sense. 11 RBIs versus righties versus 11 against lefties. 3 home runs, 0 home runs. You're getting significantly less at bats versus lefties. And so your numbers should be significantly less. You know, the math is math.
Right. The counting stats are just going to work out that way.
Exactly. And honestly, he's someone that has been struggling a little bit more. We did see his first ever career multi-homer game. But you do wonder how much is this over-tinkering with Bryson Stott possibly affecting his consistency, as you mentioned that he's not the everyday second baseman. I don't mind it early in the season. I know we've talked about like keeping guys fresh and everything, keeping them rolling, but he might be someone, I don't know what the conversations are behind the scenes, so I can't assume that they are or are not having these, but he can be someone that right now is mentally, maybe not even realizing it, but mentally struggling a bit because he is so inconsistent in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Renee, and you would know better than anyone, athletes want to find roles.
Listen,
and maybe it does something to him to have to check each day and decide.
And the hard part is, no matter how much a manager or a coach tells you something, like the actions and the words, it's still hard to wrap your head around. Like, I'm busting my butt, I'm showing you, I'm making improvements, I'm making progress, and you still aren't going to me in this situation. Why not? And even if you're telling me, it still is frustrating. So like, that's where you have to walk that fine line of like almost over managing. You're doing maybe over managing instead of just like sticking to what's working and not overthinking it. But it is tough as an athlete. You want to be counted on in every situation, and you want to be trusted in every situation. And someone like Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh, 2 great examples that have continued to show us this season. They are definitely making strides compared to last season. You want to see them now get the reward of that. So hopefully, as we drift into May, they will start to get more opportunities and, to be the everyday guys, because they've earned that and they've shown that so far.
Tyler just put the comment up on the screen that I wanted to get to. Spiral Out said, Dombrowski knows who the closer on this team is going to be come August. He's just not on the roster yet. It would make sense. The Phillies are on the doorstep of, World Series contending again here. So we talked about there's no glaring hole. Going for like a surefire back end piece would kind of be the sexiest thing you could do. Right. Go find your Paul Sewald, because we saw Paul Sewald for the Diamondbacks last year step in and kind of shut our asses down. All right, to get to the rest of the weekend ahead here, and then we're going to call it. You have Keaton Wynn on Saturday, a 6:05 game versus our sweet, adorable boy Ranger, who's going to keep it going with his 1.32 ERA, 5-0 with 40 Ks. That should be in the Phillies' favor, I would imagine. And then Sunday, a 7:10 night game on ESPN, Sunday Night Baseball. Logan Webb versus Taijuan Walker. Obviously in the Giants' favor there from the pitching matchup on Sunday night. And then Monday, the Giants do not have a pitcher listed yet. We'll see what they do, but the Phillies will have Christopher Sanchez. Tuesday is listed as TBD, so we'll see what happens there with Spencer Turnbull and the conversation we had today. But that's your weekend series with the Giants. A coward's 4-game series. I hate it. Unless, of course, they win 3-1, then it's great. Yes, yeah, and it should be an opportunity for the Phillies to finally win their first 4-game series of the season because they split the first 2. And also for us, just I know Tyler was answering in the chat, but just for anybody that's curious, that's listening back later or watching back later, we are actually not even going to be live again until post-game Monday. So this whole weekend, we're going to be watching from home. And obviously, John, you'll be watching down at Citizens Bank Park. And then we'll be back live post-game. So our post-game show for this series is going to be Monday following the 4:05 pitch that we'll be able to join you guys for a post-game show. We actually have 3 post-game shows next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it'll be a nice, fun week for us. But also, hopefully, it'll be even more fun coming off of a great 4-game series victory.
Yeah,
I have a lot of faith. Ooh,
sweep.
A 4-game sweep.
4-game sweep. How about that?
That would be
Man,
nice.
if they got that, if they got a 4-game sweep,
I'm
they
getting
would
a
be
little rational at that point.
Yeah.
Just, I worry about the Sunday night baseball game, though.
Yeah.
That's the one I'll probably get them.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll see. One more thing I wanted to read before we get out of here. This was courtesy of Todd Zulli yesterday. We talked about how there's no holes in this team and how good the rotation has been. I'm just going to read this from Todd because everybody should feel really good. Look, me and Renee are the hosts of the only 2 teams in town left in the Union and Phillies here. Unfortunately, Alec Boehm and Brandon Marsh could not bring the Sixers enough good luck last night. So the Phillies and Union are the 2 teams in town left, and we should feel really good about the direction of our Phillies. This is pretty incredible about the starting rotation. They have the second best strikeout rate, nearly 26%, and the second lowest opponent's average exit velocity, 87 miles an hour as a rotation. They also generate the 3rd most swings out of the zone, aka chase rate, at 30.7%. And here's our sweet, adorable boy Ranger who's going tomorrow night. I highlighted his because he's the best. Suarez's overall average exit velocity is 81.9 miles an hour. It's not only the best in Major League Baseball, it's the best mark by any starting pitcher in any season with a minimum 50 balls in play since StatCast started measuring exit velocity in 2015.
Is that good, Jamie? Wow. It sounds good.
That sounds
pretty good.
That sounds pretty good to me.
So a lot to feel great about here in Phillies land.
I love that. I got some positives for you, too.
All right.
On the offensive side.
Here's your Jon Stewart moment of zen.
Listen to all these fun numbers. Okay, so Bryce Harper has hit a home run in 4 of his last 5 appearances with the Phillies. Alec Boehm, as we know, has been on a streak of his own. He's now recorded at least 1 RBI in each of the Phillies' last 6 night games. We've got night games this weekend. And Alec Boehm, of course, has had 1 hit in each of the last 15 games and has had at least 1 double in 7 of the Phillies' last 8 games against NL opponents specifically. Now, Bryce Harper, in his last 8 games against the Giants, has recorded at least a single in each of those games. So it should be getting some good at-bats from Bryce, hopefully today. And then Trey has had a total of 2 or more bases in each of the Phillies' last 10 night games against opponents that have a losing record. So these are some positives to look for today. Plus, Trey has scored at least 1 run in each of the Phillies' last 8 home games.
Love it.
So some other streaks that we're seeing that are slow, like quietly on the mend for the offense. That's if you're betting or if you're looking to, have anybody specifically that you're expecting to jump off the page today and this weekend, there's some streaks that Trey, Bryce, and Alex specifically can continue.
Just everywhere you look, just fantastic numbers.
Oh,
it's just all over the place. You could just, you can browse the stats all day, and it's amazing. And I hope everyone enjoys it because it's not going to stay this way through 162. No. We're going to hit rough patches. We're going to have all sorts of concerns about different players. Right now, things are good.
Things are great.
Correct. I mean, things like Alec Bohm being second best across the league in batting average and top in RBIs, and the pitching staff being top in the league, and all these fantastic numbers. Let's hope it continues, but it is a very long season.
Yeah, make sure you're following John's writing. Jim Salisbury is going to be contributing to the website as well, so make sure you're following those guys along at allphly.com. John tweets out most of the stories, either from his personal account or our show account, so make sure you're staying in tune with that. Good stuff. We have good stuff ahead. We'll be back on Monday for the post-game show. And don't forget, May 10th, if you're able to make it, we would love to do a viewing party with you. I think we already have 35 plus people signed up to come out. So hopefully you can join us May 10th. Manayunk Brew Company, Miller Lite is presenting our watch party. So come out if you can, RSVP on the events tab on our website. It's a free RSVP. We just want to make sure we have room for everybody that's coming. So if you can make it, please sign up. And we'd love to see you on May 10th, a Friday night at Manayunk Brewing Company, to hang out and watch the Phillies. And then I think we have something else in store, which we'll be announcing momentarily for May 18th down at the stadium. So, soft circle that one on your calendar, and we'll tell you more about that next week. But for John, Renee, Tyler, and myself, we love and appreciate all of you for hopping in here and hanging out with us on this Friday. Phillies are the hot ticket in town now.
Woo!
We turn our attention to you. So have a great weekend, everyone. Go Phils. And don't forget to help all the Mimas and Papas out there with Apple TV tonight. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
We all city.